Hi friends, it's Amy. Welcome to my bookish life. Today, I want to share with you the 17 books that I read in the month of June. So let's get to it. As I said, I read 17 books in the month of June with the total of 4,853 pages. I read 8 books for an adult audience, 2 YA, and 7 for a middle grade audience. I read 9 books in a physical format in some capacity, 6 in a digital format, and 9 in an audio format. 16 of the books that I read were fiction and 1 was nonfiction. My range of star ratings this month went from 3.5 to 5 stars. I had an average rating of 4.3 stars. The average number of pages I read per day was 161.8 pages, and the average number of pages per book was 285.5. I really enjoyed this month of reading. It was a lot of fun. I did have 1 week where I read very little. I was part of a staff for a conference called Girls State in Wisconsin, and there's not a lot of time to read when you are at Girls State. So all things considered, I'm very happy with the books that I was able to read in the month of June. So let's talk about them. Shall we? First of all, let's just say I got a full Tic Tac TBR board this month. Very excited about that. I make these every month from Ruby's template, and I really feel like I should do a better job of actually showcasing how I'm doing on those. The first book that I finished was Skeptic in Salem, an episode in murder. And this is a paranormal cozy mystery that I listened to from Hoopla. It's by Fiona Grace. It has a woman named Mia, and she leaves this high-paying job because she realizes that her employers don't really care about actually helping people. They care about making money, which is pretty normal, except that their job is supposed to be to help people. So she decides to leave. She's also an aspiring podcaster, and she receives this great opportunity to be part of this podcast that's going on in Salem, and it's a paranormal podcast. So she's there to try to debunk any paranormal activity as a scientist. When the podcast subject is murdered, then all of a sudden she has to clear her name because people feel like she couldn't debunk him and therefore she killed him. So she needs to clear her name. It's great. It's a fun little paranormal cozy series. I'm a little confused though because the main character or the cover has a witch on it, and there aren't any witches that would be like prominent in the series. So I feel like there's more coming in the second book that explains why there's a witch on the cover. But you know, more to come, right? The second book that I finished was Welcome Home to Murder by Rosalie Spielman. And I was kind of continuing my cozy mystery kick from the end of May into the beginning of June. Welcome Home to Murder is the first in a new cozy mystery series by Rosalie Spielman. It follows Tess Treslow, who is now a veteran because she is ending her tour in the military. And she has to figure out how to be a citizen. Not a citizen, a civilian. She needs to figure out how to be a civilian. So she goes back to her hometown and she helps her grandma or her aunt in their mechanic business. However, somebody shows up, turns up dead inside their automotive building. So, of course, Tess needs to investigate. It's a lot of fun. I really like her writing. I like how she introduces characters. I like how she leaves foreshadowing and hints and things like that. I had multiple guesses, but I wasn't actually sure until the actual reveal. I really did enjoy reading the book, and I really liked seeing the how it explored like psychological effects of ending a tour of duty or coming home from serving, things like that. It was really good. There's definitely a trigger warning for PTSD because Tess definitely is dealing with a lot of that. So the next book that I finished was Spy School at Sea by Stuart Gibbs. This I listened to on audio. I love this series so much. This is the ninth addition to the series. In this one, our main character, Ben, is at sea on vacation with a bunch of family in order to try and find a villain who he has been chasing for quite a while. And it just really is quite an adventure. It hits the ground running and it just keeps on going, and it's really a lot of fun. And it leaves you on a major cliffhanger for the 10th book, which doesn't come out until August. The next book that I finished was All Systems Red by Martha Wells, and this is a sci-fi novella. It has the buzzword in it all. I was going to read a different book for the buzzword reading challenge. However, my hold on this book came up, and I was like, well, this fits. So I actually decided to read this one instead. It is really interesting. It's the first novella in the Murderbot Diaries, and it follows this murderbot who is a robot produced by this company to be kind of like a bodyguard for their clients. However, he is able to make his own decisions, so he can theoretically decide to not listen to the clients and murder all of them. There's another client somewhere near there that suffers a great tragedy, and it causes an upheaval in the group. So it was really interesting. It was so short, so it obviously left on a cliffhanger to continue to go on to the next novella. I wasn't really in a super hurry to do that. I did enjoy it. It was really engaging, and there was quite a lot of action, and I loved the imagination and the world building. But it just wasn't like, I must read the next one. You know, I just wasn't hopping on the train to read the second novella, which that doesn't mean that I won't ever read it. I just wasn't necessarily wanting to at that moment. The next book that I finished was Catastrophe, which is the first book in a new series called Wednesday and Woof. Wednesday is a young girl who has juvenile arthritis, and Woof is her service dog. It is a really cute new mystery series. Wednesday wants to be a detective, and so she is always looking for major cases, and she's not able to find one. However, she does find one when her neighbor informs her that the neighbor's cat has gone missing. So Wednesday and her trusty sidekick, Woof, go out trying to find the missing cat. It's really cute. Definitely way below my students' reading levels. I would say it's more for a second, third, fourth grade. And I teach fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. That's not to say that my students wouldn't enjoy it. It's just probably not a book that I would put in my classroom. I would, however, recommend it to second, third, and fourth grade teachers to have a copy in your classroom, especially because it has that disability rep in it, and it has this really engaging mystery that isn't scary, and it covers issues like bullying and finding your true self, all in just this little itty bitty book. And it has a really cute dog in it and kind of a cute cat. The next book that I finished was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. This is a reread for me, but I am reading it as part of the Narnia read-along that is hosted by A-Star Reads and an autistic reader. I really enjoyed this reread. I just love the whimsicalness of Narnia. It's so inviting and just beautiful and wonderful, and you just want to be there even though, you know, there's the evil witch that wants everybody, you know, to die. But I just really, really liked it. And I don't know what it was that stopped me from continuing the series when I did read it a while ago. I read the first book because the school that I was student teaching at was showing the first movie, most recent Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe that came out. So I did read it and I loved it then, and I just never continued. But I did then continue and read Prince Caspian, because with the read along, we're reading 2 books per month. So I did read Prince Caspian. I went right ahead and listened to Prince Caspian right away. Here, I love how the time ended up working, because I was like, how is this going to continue? Are there going to be even 4 kids anymore? Like, I never saw any of the movies after that. Like, so I just love how C.S. Lewis figured out how time could work. So basically, they were in Narnia in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe for many, 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 many years. But when they got back to home, it was seconds later, and they were themselves again. And so then the next book, it's like a year later in Earth time, and they get to Narnia, and it's like hundreds of years later, because Narnia time could be hundreds of years, it could be minutes, it could be seconds, but always when they got back to Earth, it wasn't any time at all. That's something that really bothered me with the book Peter Pan, is that they were in Neverland for a really, really long time. And it was never really addressed that they were missing from Earth for a really long time. And that would just be tragic. And as an adult thinking about it, it was hard for me to get on board with that. So I really love this idea that they were in this magical world for years and years and years and years, and they got back and it was like no time had passed, and here they are able to go about their business, and they didn't worry anybody. It was just that, you know, I loved that about these books. So really excited to keep continuing with the series as part of the read along as well. The next book that I finished was Little House in the Big Woods by Laura Ingalls Wilder. So this was definitely a throwback month for me. Little House in the Big Woods is the first book in the Little House on the Prairie series, written by Laura Ingalls Wilder, about her childhood. And these books are award winners, but they've gotten a lot of flack recently because there is some questionable stuff in it. And one thing that I did like about Little House in the Big Woods is how much the book really digs into how to do specific things and describes the processes and just creates this place that you just want to be in. And I loved that. But there definitely were some songs that were sung one song in particular that was like, whoa, this needs a conversation. As much as I love Little House in the Big Woods, it's definitely a book that you need to have a conversation with a young child about what is in there. And I definitely think that it is good that we now have books like Prairie Lotus that is at the same time period and shows a different viewpoint and a different point of view. And I really think that it's important that those kinds of books are actually coming out and being read and consumed. However, I'm still glad that Little House in the Big Woods is part of my life. Buddy read that Sorry. I buddy read that with one of my colleagues in real life and Rainy from Rainy Day Reads. It was a lot of fun. We're going to continue with the series. So yeah, very excited. The next book that I finished was The OK Witch and the Hungry Shadow by Emma Steinkellner. This book is a graphic novel. It's middle grade. It is the second book in the OK Witch series, and it is adorable. Adorable. I just love it. We follow Moth again, and in the first book, Moth found out that she was a witch and that her grandma actually lived in this like other dimension. And in the second book, she goes to the other dimension to meet her grandma. She brings back some spells. She doesn't really learn how to use them, and it turns out to be not okay. I just loved it. I loved the illustrations in this series. I just love Moth as a character. I think that it has a great message to it, and I'm definitely glad that I read it. I think that it's definitely a series that I want to get in my classroom as soon as possible. The next book that I read was European Travels for the Monstrous Gentlewoman by Theodora Goss. This is the second book in the Athena Club book series. Loved it. Loved it so much. My in real life book club, after reading the first book in May, decided that we were going to read the second book in June instead of what we were going to read. I'm so glad we did. It was so much fun. I just love how imaginative and creative this series is. I love how it brings these beloved characters to life and really just goes from there. One thing that I didn't like is that it was so long. It really could have been split up into two books very easily. There were definitely more interruptions than I think needed to be there. However, it's not something that bothered me so much that I couldn't handle it. It was just really long and definitely could have used either some editing or some splitting. The next book that I finished was The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This book was so good. I loved it, and I've waited so long to read it. It's been on my radar. I didn't know if it sounded like something I would want to read. I don't know. It sounded kind of good. It sounded kind of Westing game. It sounded kind of 39 Clues. And I was kind of up for it, but then at the same time, I was kind of like, I don't know. I'm so glad I finally picked it up because it was so good. It's filled with puzzles and secrets and family drama. You all know how much I love puzzles and secrets and family drama. I love it. I don't know what took me so long to pick up this book. Avery is the main character here. She inherits the entire estate from this old man that she has never met, never heard of, has no idea why she's inheriting it. And in order to get the inheritance, she needs to live in his house for a certain period of time, but she's not allowed to kick out his family that is currently occupying his house and his estate, who, of course, feel that they should have inherited the estate. It's very crazy. Chaos ensues so quickly. I love it. I'm really looking forward to the second book. I have it on hold at the library to listen to, and I'm really excited for that as well. The next book that I finished was Midnight at the Blackbird Cafe by Heather Webb, and this was the book club pick for Krista at Books and Jam's Patreon book club. I really enjoyed this. It has a lot of magical realism, a lot of secrets and family drama, and I just loved how everything kind of came together. Anna Kate is the main character, and she returns to her mom's hometown when her grandma passes away and leaves her the diner that she ran for many years, and she was known for her blackbird pie. And the blackberry pie was known to have some paranormal powers in the community, and it affected the blackbird population in the community in kind of strange ways. And there was a lot of interest around these birds that behaved differently in Wicklow than anywhere else in the world. It was just really creative and imaginative. Definitely an author that I would pick up again. The next book that I finished was Murder at the Wedding by Christine Knapp. This is a cozy mystery. It is the start of a new series called the Modern Midwife Mysteries series from Gemma Halliday Publications. I had an arc of this and I really did enjoy it. Maeve is a midwife. She is married. Her husband is a caterer, and he is catering the wedding of the head of the obstetrics of her hospital. At the wedding that Maeve is invited to because it's her boss, and her husband is invited to because he's catering, the head of obstetrics dies. He's poisoned. This makes her husband look bad. She takes it upon herself and with the help of her sister to try to solve the mystery. It's pretty fun, pretty engaging. I enjoyed it. It was a little bit more serious than I was expecting. There was a lot of focus on midwifery and how childbirth works. There were things brought up like miscarriages and infertility and things like that you don't really think about being in a cozy mystery. It was just kind of shocking, I guess, but it was also really informational and really interesting, and I really liked it. So just be aware. The next book that I read was Close Quarters by Amanda Ziba. This book I absolutely loved, which I received from the author, Amanda, as part of a giveaway that she was doing. I love this book because it took place in Wisconsin. I love this book because there was a family togetherness aspect that was awesome. These 4 cousins, the Ames cousins, get together at their grandmother's funeral and they inherit. This is the 3rd inheritance in the last 4 books. I've had 3 inheritances. I did not plan that at all. So this book fulfilled the book on the cover. It was also the poll pick for the silent book club that I did. I had 2 actually that won. So this is the first one that won my poll pick. It took me no time at all. I just flew through it. I really loved the characters. I loved the character development. I loved how the story went, and it just was really beautiful. As I said, we have the 4 Ames cousins. They're at their grandmother's funeral in the very first scene. They are discussing what they're going to do with their inheritance. And one of them says that she is going to create a bookstore in her grandmother's name because their grandmother loved books, loved reading, and really instilled that love of reading in them. So the other girls are like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let us know if we can help. Okay. Well, turns out she's going to need the help. They kind of band together. They kind of drive each other crazy. They're close like sisters. It's really a beautiful story of how they come together, how they deal with obstacles that are thrown at them. And I just really, really loved it. There wasn't a ton of action in it. It was very character driven. It was very character driven. But I loved it. I loved it for everything that it was. I loved the characters. I can't recommend it enough. If you love books about families and togetherness, this is a family that you want to get to know. There is a second book in the series called Pivotal Pause. I'm very excited to get to that one at some point. All right, the next book that I read was Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan. This is the second book that won the poll that I did. I did the poll in several different places, and Close Quarters and Paper Girls all together won. So I read both of them. Paper Girls is a graphic novel and is a throwback to the 80s that is absolutely absolutely delightful. Really enjoyed it. We have 4 paper girls that encounter these strange alien type creatures, or zombie type creatures. No, they don't really know. There was some mysterious contraptions hanging around in places, and it's Halloween. So a lot of crazy stuff is happening. It's really fun, really gets going right away. I really liked it, really enjoyed it. It was kind of trippy, but it was fun. The next book that I finished was my one nonfiction, and it was The Midwest Survival Guide by Charlie Berens. Now, if you don't know who Charlie Berens is, he is somebody that you should know. He is a comedian, and he has a bit called the Manitowoc Minute, where he speaks in the most Midwest accent possible, and he talks about how wonderful the Midwest is. Now, if you are from the Midwest, if you love the Green Bay Packers, if you love the Milwaukee Brewers, if you love the Milwaukee Bucks, or any of their Midwestern counterparts, you should be familiar with Charlie Berens. His book, The Midwest Survival Guide, goes through all the wonderful things about the Midwest. It's really fun. There's a lot of funny in it. It's kind of a memoir, kind of humor, kind of catalog in a way. I listened to it. It is narrated by Charlie Berens, which means that it's even better. My dad actually is the one that put this on my radar, and it just happened to be available on Libby when I was going through it. And I was like, oh, my dad is reading this, so I'm going to listen to it. I highly recommend listening to it just because Charlie himself narrates it. However, I also was, after I finished, I was looking through my dad's copy of the book, and there was a bunch of stuff that wasn't in the audiobook because it would be too difficult to narrate. So it's definitely a book that you want to see with your eyes as well as listen to. However, it didn't completely detract from my enjoyment to only have listened to it. There was just certain things that I would have enjoyed even more. I thought that Charlie's stories were really funny. I thought that he had a lot of really cool things to say. I liked how sarcastic he was. I liked how he just poked fun at the Midwest, but also talked about how great it was. It was just really fun. If you are from the Midwest, you really should pick up this book. If nothing else, look up Charlie Berens on Instagram, whatever, and see some of his stuff because he's hilarious. And the last book that I read was Mr. Lemoncellos' very first game. This is the prequel to Escape from Mr. Lemoncellos' Library. I absolutely love this series. This series follows Mr. Lemoncello, who runs this contest, very Willy Wonka-esque, where he is going to give certain perks to whoever wins the contest. And the contest is full of puzzles and games and challenges that largely center around books, but also don't. And he loves all things games, all things libraries, and he's just a phenomenal guy. So when I heard that Chris Grabenstein, who is the author of this, I don't think I mentioned, when I heard that Chris Grabenstein was coming out with the prequel that talked about how the world of Mr. Lemoncello's Library got Luigi Lemoncello, I was so on board. This was an arc from NetGalley. It actually came out in May, so it's absolutely available now. And it just was everything that you want in a prequel because it has the Easter eggs from the actual series that you should look for if you're reading a prequel. And it really shows all of these quirks and all of these personality traits that Luigi Lemoncello has in the actual series books and explains where those traits came from. He has a mentor who is very fond of taking two words and combining them, which is absolutely something that Mr. Lemoncello does in the series. We have last names that definitely were heard in the books. We have characters who were brought up in the books of the series. It was so well done, so cool, really liked it. It was so fun to look for those Easter eggs, and I just really liked it. I really love Luigi Lemoncello as a person. He's so cool as a character. He is so cool. Really, really cool. And yeah. So that's it. Those are the 17 books that I read in the month of June. It was a really great month, as I said. Have you read any of these books? Did you like them? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to chat with you. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure that you subscribed. Before I go, I would like to say that one really awesome thing that happened on June 30th is I reached 300 subscribers, which is so cool. Thank you so much to those of you that are subscribed. Thank you to those that interact with me. I so appreciate it. I so love this booktube community and everyone involved in it. So thank you for that. I hope you're finding something wonderful to read. And until next time, happy reading. Bye.